All right, everybody. Happy wedNESday! Yes!
Happy wedNESday!
Oh, no, we've
Yes!
got a delay. Oh, my
no,
goodness. There we go. Let's get rid of that delay. Whoops. All right, so awesome. You guys see me? You guys hear me? We here? Is everything going good? Everybody having a wonderful, beautiful Wednesday? I think this is going to be a really fun day. I have thought out how I'm going to approach this. And it's something that is not necessarily a common mechanic like the last couple things have been. So this is going to be, I'm going to be getting into like the object code and manipulating it. I'm going to be using a different object flag that is less used. I'm going to be doing some interesting things with a HUD and timers, and I'm going to try and do a whole lot, even though we only have an hour. So I'm going to try and cram a lot into this hour. But first, if someone who's viewing now could sign off, let me know you see me, let me know you hear me, let me know things are going okay in your world, all that stuff. And while I'm waiting for confirmation that we are live, I will show you guys. I added a few things, but nothing that is really functional to the screen. It was mostly just a graphical skin. So what you're seeing on the screen right now is just a quick update that resembles Project Frontier a little bit more. What you see here is you see pillars like you see in the game. And then you see the resource nodes look a little bit more interesting. Right now I've got all these set up as resource nodes. The trees look a little bit better than the crappy tree I had here last week. I actually made a better Viking, which you'll see when I go to the Viking. I didn't do the other characters, but I did make the other Vikings. You guys might recognize some of this, and some is totally new to you, but all of this that you see on the screen right now, except for the character, were actually original Mystic Searches graphics, which became Mystic Origins graphics, and some of these graphics weren't even used. So the real only functional thing I changed was I set up my collision map to match this new look here, and then I also made another screen, which is the screen I'm going to go to actually play the game. So this is my sort of lobby screen. I'm going to pick my dude. I also changed it so it's not the B button that activates my hammer there. It's my A button. It's the start button. Activates my game, so my A and B buttons can be used as sort of action buttons in the game and not sort of overlap that. There are a lot of ways I could have approached that, but just made it really quick. So nothing really functionally different about this right now, but let's sort of remember where we're at. And then we'll talk about what we're going to do today, which I'm super excited about today. It's going to be different and unique and weird. So this is my game right now. If I go, if I hit my A button, this is practice sort of level. I have my little harvester pickaxe here, and I can harvest things like this. And if I go over the top, you can see I've got I could either be a pirate or ninja, Viking, a ninja, or a pirate. We're just gonna stick with the Viking because I updated the graphics on that sheet. And if I press start, now I'm actually a Viking. My Viking looks a little bit better. And this is going to be the game. This is going to be the screen where I'm going to do my weird stuff with my harvester. So what do I mean by harvester? Let me see if I've got something here. I think I have a graphic. Yeah, so I've got this graphic here. This is the graphic that you probably saw as the start of this video. This is, oh, go away. This right here is Project Frontier. And what we're going to be doing is a similar mechanic to what this harvester does in Project Frontier. You can see there's resource nodes here. You collect gems, gold, wood from trees and things like that. And you can go around with your pickaxe and you can collect these things. You can smash the hammers and collect them, hit them a bunch of times. But the game is a survival game. It's not just a resource game. Resources are just one aspect of the game. So one of the things that's cool is that you can craft these harvesters once you have enough wood, and then you can put them in places where there are these sort of resource nodes with gems and gold and ore and wood and stuff like that. And it will auto sort of collect that stuff for you while you go and adventure around the world. So we're going to try and emulate something similar. And so what I'm setting up here, just so you can get an idea, is eventually by the end, I want to be able to come over here, drop down a resource harvester here, and then within an area, it'll be able to detect, are there resources in the area? And if it is, it'll start pulling those resources and it'll start drawing them and it'll start adding them up. and then the same thing. So this will be for like gems, and this will be for wood, right? So and then we could try and create some other options. So anyway, a lot of weird things with this one, but that's sort of what makes it exciting too. So I'm going to first start off by I need to see that I've got gems and I've got wood up at the top. So that's easy enough. This is nothing new. You guys have. If you guys have gone through NESmaker tutorials, you guys have seen this stuff. If I go to HUD and boxes, actually, you know what I need to do? I'm going to make these variables here. So I'll make some user variables. I've got my score. I don't really need my score, but I'll leave it here. So right now I'm going to name this wood mat. And then I will add another one called wood mat 10. And then I'll add another one called wood mat. Now, really, it doesn't really matter. These are going to serve as my place values. So when I'm adding to wood mat, if I get over 9, the add value function will be able to carry that value over into the tens place and the hundreds place. And I'm going to do the same thing for gems. So I'll add a gems mat, add gems mat 10. And add a gens mat 100. Okay. So now what I could do that I've got that, I can go to my HUD and we don't, you know what? I actually have to add graphics to my HUD because I don't actually have any graphics in my HUD right now. So let me open up my pixel editor. I'm going to open up, let's see, tutorial assets. I've got my graphics here and I've got sort of my HUD graphics and I'll just copy these in. My HUD's going to be green because I needed that light color green for something that for one of my tile types. That'll be interesting, but it's fine. And I'm going to open up my HUD graphics here, paste these in, save it. Okay, now if I go back to HUD and boxes, go to my tiles, there we go. And this should automatically be lined up to this. So I'm now going to go into my elements. And for my first element, I'm going to make it a number. And I'm going to use, what did I call it? Wood mat. And it's going to have 3 values. In fact, you know what? I lied. I don't want to do that. I want to use text. I'm going to have to change that. So I'll go down. And I want to change this to text so that I can actually just see the string wood. And I'll put it over and down like this. And this one I want to be text. And I want to call this gems. Move it over, down. Element 2, I got to remember which these are. So element 2 is going to be wood and element 3 is going to be gems. And the first thing to do is just be able to manually mine for these things. So this will be a variable for my for wood mat, and it's got 3 bytes. And then I will make element 3 a number, and I'll make it gems mat. I think that's what I called it, right? 1, 2, 3. Move it over. And so what I should expect to see now, if I test my game, hopefully, if I haven't broken anything with that, is I should now see that I've got a HUD. And it shows me how much wood I have and how many gems that I have. And right here on the start screen, I can start mining for that stuff. I'm not sure who... oh, is that Fernando? If it is, welcome. I'm glad you made this one. Makes me so happy to hang out with you guys at lunchtime. All right, so let me start mining for wood and gems. And what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to separate I'm going to have to make 2 different types of objects that function exactly the same, except one increases gems and one increases wood. And maybe what I'll do is these can increase gems by 2, this can increase gems by 1, and bushes will increase gems by 1 or increase wood by 1. So we'll do something like that. So if I go to my tile for resource node 1, I'm gonna edit this, and I'm also I'm gonna finish this one, and then I'm gonna duplicate it and make a second one. So all this is exactly what I want to have happen. The last thing that I want to have happen is player or pickaxe. Let's see. I have to type. Okay. So this is all what's happening. It changes the tile. It creates the spark. And the other thing that I want to do is I want to add value. And if add value. And I know I'm just going to write this down for myself. I know that my add value is how many places the variable should have. That's how many bytes make up that variable. And there are 3. And then it's the root variable, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while since I looked at this. Root variable, how much to change by and to what place. I'm pretty sure those are the arguments. So I'm going to add, this variable had 3 places. The root variable was, let's do wood mat. How much it changed by 1, and to the first place, it should that be 0? I can't remember if I actually use 0 as the first place or 1 as the first place. And then I just need to update HUD element, and I think that HUD element was 0, 1, 2. Let me make sure. So I'm updating wood. And then I'm updating the HUD to match. And this was wood. Yeah. So let me test now. And what should happen is when I hit a resource node. No, it is 0. Okay. My bad. So 0 being the first place in the byte. Or the first byte. So now I've already got sort of material harvesting working. This is the easy way, no problem. Awesome. So I've got this material harvesting. So I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to make 1 for gems and 1 for wood. So what I need to do is I'll duplicate this, save a copy as, and resource node 1 tile, I guess. So this will be gems. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to gems mat and update element 3. Everything else is going to be exactly the same. But now I need to go over here, and my tile types, I've got resource node 0 and I've got resource node 1. Script is going to change this one. Can't remember where I put resource node 1. There we go. And now I'll go to my game. And in here, I need to, let's see, I'll get my resource node 0 was wood. So I want that to be this one. Okay, and I need to change my resource node 1 to my gems, which is that one, and that one. Everything else should be set up the way it's supposed to be. So now I should be able to add gems. I should be able to add wood. Hello in the chat. Good to see you. So, oh, did I do it backwards? I did it backwards. Oops. No problem. Oh, I still had this open. My bad. 2 wood. I thought I had the other one open. Start 1. There we go. 3 gems. Now it'll work. All right, so that was step number 1, is just to get gems. Gems are working, wood is working. There we go. So awesome. That was the first part. That was the easy part, right? That's stuff that is already in the tutorials. We didn't have to conceptualize much. Now we got to get weird. So this is actually multiple steps. The first is to place a harvester, right? And then the next is to be able to craft the harvester, because you need wood in order to actually craft the harvester. And then you want the harvester to actually be collecting those resources for you rather than you manually doing it. So what to tackle in what order is starts to get a little bit tricky. So what we're going to do, let's first make our harvester. And the harvester is going to have two states. It's going to have sort of a ghostly bluish image when you place it. And then when you activate it, it's going to actually be churning and animating. And my animation is probably going to be hilarious. I haven't even tested it yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my projectile source. I'm going to rename this harvester. And the problem is I don't actually see my harvester in here because I only have it. Okay, hold on. So let me come over here and do this. I only put this on my Viking, so I need to open up just so I can see where things are. I need to put this here too. I'm only going to use it once I've chosen my Viking. I need this to be here. Okay, so now I should be able to go to my harvester, and in a second, when that catches up, come on, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to use this subpalette 4, the fourth subpalette, and I'm going to make this 2, make it 4, I'm sorry, 4 by 2, and I'm going to use, this is going to be the default state 1 harvester. This is the ghostly image that I haven't crafted it yet. So I'm going to manage this, and I'm going to call this ghostly. Rename it, and I'm going to add this one, and I'm going to call this working. Something like that. Okay, and for working, I'm going to, let's try this. Glow palette. We'll call this wood palette. And it should be, let's see, light brown, dark brown, and dark blue, I think. Something like these are backwards. So dark brown, lighter brown, that's sort of what I'm going for. Okay, so working is going to actually have 4 frames of animation. Frame 1 is going to be this, and frame 2 is going to be this. Frame 3. Somebody asked me if I could make a SimCity style game with NESmaker, and this is kind of getting into that territory. Obviously, not nearly as complex as SimCity, but the idea of placing these things and then these things activating while I'm, moving around the world, that kind of thing. So I'll have this that'll be pumping, harvesting resources. It's a doesn't look exactly like it does in Project Frontier, but actually not too far off. So this is just subpalette 3, so I need to make sure that on my screen this and this are set. So let me go into, save that. Let me go in overworld, screen info, day monsters, and I just need to make sure that 3 has, oh, I never named it. Sorry. Harvester, pal, or name it. Okay. And I also need to, I went ahead and I made myself I need to make a monster, just a blank monster group. Well, actually, no, I don't need to do that. All right. So now I want to be able to place the harvester, and usually I'm going to place the harvester, with just a B. And I went back and forth. Do I want to use a tile for this, or do I want to use an object for this? And because it's not uncommon in Project Frontier, for instance, you can only place so many harvesters, right? And they can't be you can't just like place a harvester every 2 feet. And so in this game, I could do the same kind of thing, and that made more sense to make it as an object rather than a tile. But I was originally conceiving doing this as a tile. What also is cool is, since it's tall, if it's an object, I can walk behind it. Whereas if it was a background object, I'd have to make it solid. I'd have to that, you know, so I'd have to make it so that it was solid, but also, so it acted like a solid, but also was doing the harvester things. It just made more sense right now to do it as an object. But if this doesn't work, I might change course and try and make it as a tile type. Um, so yeah, so I made it as an object, and I'm gonna make a very simple script. Let me come back to my script, and it's gonna be really similar to my weapon script. Right now, I just want to make this thing appear on the screen. I'm not even worried about where it's placing it. So I'm gonna look at to make sure that the object that is calling this script is the player. Is player. If it's not, jump to not player. I'll go ahead and put is player here. And in here, do the thing. The end, done. Here I'm going to put not player. And here I'm going to put done. And here I'm going to put RTS. Okay, so if it's not the player, it's really not going to do anything. If the object calling is the player, I'm going to activate this when I press the B button. So I'm going to use my input editor to control this. So if I press the B button and it is the player, usually I'd be checking to see if I had the resource camp schematic loaded into my weapon slot, but that we haven't set up weapon slots or anything like that yet. That's how I do it in the actual Project Frontier, and maybe we'll get to that. But for right now, I just really want to get this harvester harvesting. So I'm just going to place the harvester. I'm going to load object. Let me. I'm gonna. Let's see. Yeah. That way, I'm pushing what's the value that's in X because I'm going to corrupt it in a second, and then I can restore it at the end. And so right here, I'm going to load object X. This is the player's X value. Store it into temp A. Load object Y high. X. Store it into temp B. And I'm going to create object. If I look at this create object is a little bit different than the one I'm using right now, but I'll show you what I need to do. Language source. Putting this in my custom scripts, I'm going to call this create harvester. Not much different than this, right? So this is what I'm trying to do right here. Create X, Y, what object state, and what name table it's on. So that's basically what I'm doing right here. Except instead of I'm creating a temp A, creating a temp B. This is going to be totally the wrong position. And what object am I creating? 2. And you know what I can do, honestly, is I could I'm gonna have to follow this same logic based on which direction I'm facing. Go ahead and place it there. But for right now, we'll put it right where my character is. That's fine. And I'm gonna save this. And I actually do want to line it up to the grid too. So we're gonna figure out how to do that with this in a second, and we're gonna reuse that grid code somewhere else too. That same code. So over here in my input scripts, I'm going to put that in my custom scripts. I've got my create harvester, input editor, and again, this is not going to be great. I'm just trying to make sure that I got something working. So my main game, when I press the B button, because I'm using A to manually harvest with the pickaxe, when I press the B button, I'm going to create the harvester. Usually what I would do is I would see if there's a harvester on the screen already, and if there is, I wouldn't be able to do that. We'll do that in the next step because we don't want somebody to be able to spam harvesters. So let's try this out. See if I coded this okay. Yes, good news. So I'm going to go to my screen here. I'm going to press start. So now I'm going to put a harvester. Let's say I want to put a harvester right here. It works. Now, obviously, the harvester, let me go into the harvester and go into the bounding box. I want the bounding box to be here. And again, I'm having a little bit of a lapse. I cannot remember in this module what it considers the top left. If it considers this the top left and then subtracts the height, I honestly can't remember. So let me see. Where does this place it? Okay. Yeah. So what I want to do is I'm going to subtract 16 from the position just automatically, because I want, basically I you know, I want it to be like that when I place it, not like that when I place it. So let me do this. So the first thing I'll do is with the Y, 16. So I'm subtracting hex 10 or 16, and now it'll do this. Right. So that's not bad. I mean, I'd rather place it in front of me, but I could still make this work, and I could deal with positioning later. So that's the ghostly image that I want to eventually change into the harvester. And that's going to require me to do a little object management. So let's do that first. If I am on the harvester and I press B, it'll change state. So let's do that next. That's easy. We're going to go, what we're going to do is we need to deal with the handling the object updates. Oops, that's not what I want to do. So we're going to go into scripts, and I'm going to go down and I'm going to go to my handle object updates. And this is something I can do in this module, sort of exclusively to this module. Because if I scroll down to the bottom of the module, I can see that, let's see, handle update objects, scroll down. Nope, I'm sorry, not updating objects, do handle objects, wrong script. Do handle objects, if I scroll down, I can see there's a point where I do the inactive object stuff. And right before that, I end up doing all of my object drawing stuff that happens to be in bank 1C. So if I go ahead and I wait till I'm out of this, I would have to keep everything I'm doing in my static bank, and I'm going to run out of room. But in this module, I know that my bank 1C is pretty empty. So what I'm going to do here is, while I'm still in 1C, before I do the return bank, so I'm still in 1C here, still in 1C. Good to comment this stuff. Start harvester script, and I'll just go ahead and write JSR handle harvester. All right, so I'll save this. And now I've got to go over to my bank 1C, and the only way I can get there with this module, or this version of this tool, is to, hold on, I have to manually find the banks. I don't think the banks are listed here, are they? Oh yeah, they are. Oh great. 1C. So I've got this much there, and there's stuff here, but apparently I don't have a lot of extra drawing code in here. So I can get away with taking up some space in here. I've already checked this out. And what I want to do is, I want this subroutine. I'm still in bank 1C. So you switch bank, and I've never switched out of that. So I'm going to do harvester, handle harvester, and then return from the subroutine right there. And this is where I want all the harvester stuff to go. So it doesn't know I'm in the harvester yet, though. So I need to figure out a way to let it know that I'm in the harvester. And what I could do is this is in objects, so X would be loaded with, X will cycle through the objects, right? And so X is loaded with the current object it's checking. So I could do let's see, load a object type.x, and I can compare that to 2, because object type that I'm using is 0, 1, 2. Now this works great for these game objects. Gets a little funky when you start deleting monsters out of your list and things like that. The order can shift around, but for these first 15 or 16 objects, this should work fine. So I'm going to load object type, compare it to 2. BQ is harvester. And I'm going to, or if it's not, I'm going to jump not harvester. Okay, have I spelled right? Okay, good. So now I'm just going to, let's see, load. I'll just jump reset. And this will only happen if one of the objects is a harvester. It's active and it's a harvester. So let's see if that works. I should expect a reset when I place down a harvester like that. And it does, it works. Okay, so I know that this code is being hit. That jump reset is one of my favorite little tricks to test. Is this piece of code being hit? So I know it is. And now I need to think, let's see. My goal is when I press the B button, it'll change to its working state. But I can't really do that because as soon as I place it, I am holding the B button. So there's a couple, I'm trying to think of the easiest way to get to this. What I would normally do is I can't use my input editor. I can't use that as my trick because I'm not in my input. I'm not where those scripts are being called. I can do this and pad B. I can do this, and if B is up, if it's equal to 0, let's do this. If it's not equal to 0, do the thing. Jump. Don't do the thing. I still want the harvester to do things. I could do a wait timer. That's one thing I could do. I have a couple. I could also even just use another action state since I'm not going to need that many action steps for this. So that's another thing I could do, and that would work with a timer. But let's just make sure that this works. What I would expect is as soon as I place it, it's going to change. It's going to change to let's see, TXA. Temp, change action step. Right, temp to 1. And now what I expect to have happen is that I take the object that's in X, stored in a temp, I change the action step of the object that's in temp, that's the object that is right now, I change the action step to 1. So what I would expect is it's going to change from 0 to 1. Oops. Does it not know what pad B is? Probably not. I probably don't have those constants set up. 47. Yeah, it doesn't know what 47 is. So now I have to think of, I can't remember which order these are in. I have it backwards like that. Or is it the opposite of that? Let's see. Pad B in most of my engines is just a constant that I have set up. Huh. Interesting. So, again, let's do this. Okay, so it is working, but it did not change the action step as I would have expected to. I do that right? Change action step, temp, and the action step is to 1. Oh, you know what? I never finished this. I'm sorry. I never actually did this. I made the animations, but I never actually set these up. My bad. Sorry. I'm going to change this one to ghost. These are all ghostly. I'm going to change this one. I'm going to add one for chug. And chugging is going to be working no matter what direction I'm facing. I'm an idiot. There we go. Staring blankly at this. I never told it that in action step number 1, it's going to be chugging. And it's going to have this sort of slow Animation, bounding box. Okay, close that. And now I'd expect it to automatically go to there. So that's working as expected. The color's not. Let me see something. Palette viewer. Yeah. Showing the wrong palette there. That's okay. This should show. Maybe I didn't do it on the screen. This should show. There we go. There we go. All right. So now that's working. And now how could I do this? I have to remember what variables that I use for certain things, and that's what's in this version. So I think I have a variable called button states. Let's find out. Button states is effectively the previous state in the last frame of this. So what I want to check is I want to see if the previous state the button was up. That's how I can check for presses and releases, is to compare button states and gamepad. In newer versions of NESmaker, this is a little bit more streamlined. In fact, the input editor is not really a thing like it is here, and it's much easier to write button commands in code like this. But load button states and 0000010. I want to only do this if that equals 0. So BNE, I want to do it. No. Q, do it. Don't do the thing. So now it should check for me to release it first, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't remember where button states is being. If it's before this, then it won't help me in this version. Let me see. Okay, that's not working. Huh. Okay. So I don't know where button states is being set in relation to this. What I really would have to do is I'd have to get to make this work the way that I want it to, is I would have to put where button states is set at the end of the routine, and I can't remember, and I'm not going to go spelunking to find that right now. So let's figure out another way that we can get to this. So forget this. Do the thing. What I can do is, hmm. How about I do this? I'm going to use this right here. I'm going to use this right here, since I'm not doing much of this stuff. Why don't I make this? I think this would be an object bit, right? So why don't I make object bit? Let's do this. Object bit? Is it bytes? I can't remember. Object byte. And I can't remember the code nomenclature of this. And I also can't remember if I did it little endian or big endian. Let's try some things. BEQ, don't do the thing. Yeah, I'm just gonna jump reset. So this is gonna be really easy to test. So right now, if it's not checked, it should. No, it's not bits. Object bits. It's not flags. Flags is what type of object it is. Unknown label. Okay. What did I call it? I can find this pretty easy because I can come into here. Object. It's not flag. Object vulnerable. I could use object vulnerability. It's a waste of it, but I could use object. No, I don't have anything for monster bits, huh? Object variables. ID, type, frame, direction, animation timer, Flags and vulnerability. Shoot. All right. All right. Well, we'll do it like this. We'll do object vulnerability. Can't type. Object vulnerability. This is one way we can get around it. And vulnerability. Let's try this. Okay. So now nothing should happen. Awesome. So now if I come into here, I do this. Unless I got that backwards. No, good, perfect. So what I'm going to do is, this is easy. Let me do this. Turn off that, and I could end up with the same problem here. I'm going to turn. So let's get rid of this. I'm going to look at gamepad and 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0. If it is not equal to 0, okay. I'm having my head's exploding here. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. It is the harvester. Stuff for state 0. Stuff for state 1. And stuff for state 2, I think. All right, so stuff for state 0. It just comes on the screen. The vulnerability will be set to 0. And what we want to do is we want to check to see if I've released the key. So load gamepad and 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0. If it is not equal to 0, that means it's still down. Not done with state 0. State 0. So it's done with state 0. Now we're going to load object vulnerability. Or 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1. Object vulnerability. And we're going to jump to end this. And we'll put end this down here. All right. So now here, if it's done, we're going to end it there too. Jump. All right. So this is all state 0 stuff. So now if let's see. Okay. Gamepad. Load object vulnerability. And 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1. If it's not equal to, that means we flipped it. We're going to go do state 1. Otherwise, we'll do all this stuff. Do state 1. Do all this stuff. Okay. So this is a little complicated, but first I'm going to check to see if object vulnerability is flipped. If it is flipped, that means that we've already done the intro state. We're jumping past this. So this is already churning. So we're already checking to see if it can churn. If it's 0, if vulnerability is 0, now I can look to see if I'm able to flip it to 1. And that's what this stuff is doing right here. So let's take a look at this. See if that works. So we won't know if that works because I have to have something to reset here. Let's do this. Actually, this probably will work if I thought this out. Okay, so we've got a reset happening where, oh, I didn't save this. Got a reset happening. There we go. So that works. If you want to see that again, what I did was I clicked this, and the only problem is that it created a second one on top of it. If you didn't notice that, so I'm using the same button um, to launch that. Maybe I should try a different button. But the other thing I could do is I could check to see, is there already a harvester on the screen before I create a harvester, which is that's something I said that I was going to have to be able to do, right? So I have to check all the objects to see if they're a harvester. And this is actually pretty easy if I remember the macros. First thing I have to do, I'm glad that I backed up the X value. And now I can say load X with 0. And this thing sort of does that. So I can't use the dash symbol or the minus sign, or else it starts messing with my streaming thing. So that's fine. I'll just do it this way. Do harv create loop. I always have a hard time coming up with unique names. If I could use plus and minus, they're local, right? So I don't have to come up with a unique name, but I can't use the minus sign because it's seen as some hard-coded hotkey here. So load object type X. If the object type is 2, then B, let's see, BQ cannot create, let's see, it's not equal to 2, do have create loop. No. Think about this. Okay. The create loop, checking if it's 2, if it's equal to 2, we're done. Done with this. We can even say just done. We could actually jump to done. Or I could say Benny not done, jump in case we go too far, done and not done. And what do I want to do if it's not done? So if it's not 2, if we're not sure, then I need to increase X, compare X to total max objects, I think is the constant that I've created. And then jump to do have create loop. Do have create loop. All right, so so now it's going to cycle through all my objects, and it's going to check to see if any of them are, and if there is a harvester already on the screen, it's not going to create another one. It'll only create one if there's not one on the screen. So, and I'm in a loop forever. Load X0. Done. Oh, you know why? Because I've got to put this here. Because I've got to restore my X and Y. So I could either do it before my jump, right here, or I could jump to here, restore. I gotta restore my X, I mean. So instead of jumping to done, jump to do restore. There we go. Got caught in a loop because it corrupted somebody saw it. Missing a branch after the CPX. CPX still exists. Ah, ha, ha, ha. You are correct, but I would have run into that problem too. Sorry, this should say not jump, branch if not equal. So it worked. I could only produce one, I think, but I've got to restore my X and Y here. Not okay. So I've got to restore it here. And then I can also do this. something like this. I'm just making sure that my X always stays. So what I'm doing is I'm backing up here, and then I've got to corrupt it right here, right? Whatever X is, I'm corrupting it right here, cycling through. By the time I'm done with this, I want to put it back where it was, so that way I can evaluate, it's my player, so I can evaluate my player's position, create the object here. But creation also corrupts it. So before I create it, I got to push it and then pull it back in. So pulls it, jumps here, so it pushes it. This should now work the way I expect it to. Ugly. I would definitely want to optimize this, but I did not have to be attached to it, but it did work. So that's good. So I can only create one. I can't create another one. It is always perpetually changing it to that next state. That's why the animation stays on that one frame. This isn't a huge deal, but what I could do is I could check the state before I change it. So here, before I actually change the state, I could do this. I think it's get action step, right? Get action step, temp, 1, BQ, skip change. And that way it'll only change. There we go. So now it should keep cycling as long as, even if I keep hitting the B button. Yep. So now I've got the harvester working. How we doing on time? Oh man, no, we're going to do more. We're going to do more. So I'm going to keep going for a little while today. I think the stream might cut off after an hour. I'm not sure, but we're going to try and muscle through here. So yeah, what we want eventually to happen is I go pick my class, and then I come over here and I place a harvester right here, and the harvester looks around and sees, is there any resources within in a space, and we got to figure out how far we want it. I would say, let's say we go, if this is the top, let's do like that, right? So let's do from the top, it would be, and I'm just going to write this down to myself, -16 in the X direction from the top position, and the regular Y position. And then we're going 16, 32, 48. And so we're doing basically from here, a rectangle, it would be like this. We're going to check that space, right? So how can we get a verification of checking? How can we even get started checking that area? We can handle that with this part here. So this is where I'm changing the action step, and we've checked to see it's skipping the change. So no matter what, if it goes into the change or it's skipping past the change, right here, here is where we check for, what do we call them? Resources. So let's check for what was our first node? Was it wood or was it, I can't remember. Was it wood or gems? We're looking for 1A. Right. 1A is wood. Okay. So let's see. This is what I've been doing for the last couple of months with my game, getting objects X and Y, translating it to the collision table. Very good, Joe. That's exactly what I'm showing today. That was the exciting part of what I'm showing, and showing an area. And so what we're going to have to do is we're going to look for 9 collision spots, and we're going to do it the long way, and then we would probably write a loop for this, because this would be obscene. This would be unnecessarily long to write out without a loop. So you know what? No, you know what? We'll do a loop. I just have to think it out. So let's check the top left first. So the first thing I'm going to do is we already have the X value position of the harvester. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load object X high subtract hex 16, 10, or hex 10, which is 16. And I'm going to then what I need to do in order to get this collision point, I'm going to store that real quick so that way we don't get store that temp A. I don't have to do that step. I'm going to load object X. Oh, come on. And from the Y, it's the same Y. It's that position. So, and I'm going to put this in step B. I do not have to do this step. This is gratuitous. I know that. I'm just trying to make it clear what it is that I'm doing. So now what I need to do is I need to look at the, if I look at the Y, right? Every 16 tiles, it's a new row. And there's 15 possible tiles, right? So what I could do is I could take temp B, and I don't have to do that. I can take temp B, and I'm going to divide it basically by 16. And that's going to give me which row that I'm on. I'm going to store that to temp. And now I'm going to load temp A. And I'm going to get the top. So I'm dividing that. I'm cutting off the bottom 16. How can I say this? The bottom bits there. So I'm going to end up with a number that is going to be. Let's see. Am I doing this right? Am I thinking about this right? I'm thinking about this backwards, aren't I? I'm absolutely thinking about this backwards. Yep. This should be X. And this should be Y. This is what I'm doing first. Load. Come on. Load temp B. Sorry, not temp Y. Load temp B. And I am getting which row it's on. And then I'm going to add temp A. Temp. This is now the collision translated to from coordinates to table val. So if I put that into Y, I load, and I just realized, yeah, okay, this should work. I hope I'm not saving these in nibbles, but I think I'm just saving them in nibbles in the ROM data. You have two tables. I'm using the maze game base, and I think it only uses the one collision table. I'm pretty sure, Joe. But good thought on that. If this doesn't work the way that I think it's going to, collision table, and I'm going to compare it to OA, and if it's not, do nothing. And then here, I'm going to reset. So what should happen is, if I did that right, if I thought that out right, sorry, I'm trying to think of this on the spot. If I do this right now, nothing happens. If I put this by where there should be wood, something should happen there. Of course, it did not. Make sure something. And just in case I get the wrong thing here. Okay, so that didn't work at all, everybody. So I'm an idiot. So let me go back and through and see where I screwed this up. So let me get rid of this. Do this the right way. Here, so we check for resources. First of all, let's make sure that this piece of code is being hit, I'm sure it is. It's always a fun thing to check. Okay. Oh, well, maybe I didn't have that wrong. It's just got to be here. Okay. It's just got to be actually chugging. So let me see. Am I crazy? I did the wrong thing. No, the table translation isn't too bad. What I'm concerned about is in this module, am I let me do this real quick. Projectile collision handle. Just want to make sure. Huh. Yeah, maybe it is using two collision tables. But you know what? It should still work on this. Oh, somebody's got the stream live. Yay, hurrah. Um, so okay. So I'm gonna come back over here. Let me think this out. This should not be too hard. So I'm gonna do this the right way. Load object X high. And let's just put it like at the X and Y position. I'll do this. Don't I have a tile X variable? I think I might be able to just do this, get tile at position. So I think I should be able to do this. Tile X or tile X capital? I can't remember. Yeah, it's been years since I've looked at these guys. So I get tile position. And I'm pretty sure at that point, I can just copy from there. Hello, hello. So if I now put it here. All right, good. Awesome. So this is one way to do it. So now I just have to make some modifications to this. And what I'm going to do is not object Y, but oh yeah, object Y, but not object X. 16 less than that. So this is the first tile that I'm going to check right here. And then I'm going to check that, and if it is that, it should reset. Okay, and does. If I put it over here, it shouldn't reset. Good. All right, so this works. What I need now is I need a timer. So I'm going to call this. I might even make a 16-bit timer, so that way I could crank on it longer. But let me call this harvest timer for now. And what I could do is just make one loop all the way around. Decrease harvest timer. Load harvest timer. DQ. Add to wood. Jump to nothing. So now I can take that same script that I wrote when I was checking to update the harvester, which was add value to it was three place variable. It was wood mat. It was I want to add 1 and I want to add to the 0th place, and I want to update HUD element. And why do I think it was 2 for wood, right? So now what should happen is if I place this, I do this, I should see the wood will go up after a little while. And I should make a little poof or something like that. Let's see. Oh, maybe I should make it happen faster so that way it's easy for me to see if it's working or not, because it's not looking like it's doing anything. Okay, let's increase harvest timer. Let's do this. Load harvest timer and compare 0, 0, 0, 0. Let's just take a look at that. That should now update fast, so I could test that a little faster. Happens once. Ah. Why? Why did it only add one time? Let's see. Is this only happening when I press the B button by chance? All right, so let's see this. See if it works. I'm just watching. Man, this is anticlimactic here. It did work, I swear. This is all only happening if my gamepad. Let's see. Nope. Okay. Yes. Okay, that's why. All this is only happening right now if I'm pressing the B button. So I'd have to be holding the B button for this to work. So it's don't do the thing. What I have to do is if, let's see, if it's already one, skip change. Let's see. Okay, gamepad, do the thing. All right, so I have to jump to don't do the thing if it's not one. Let's do this. This is easy. Don't do the thing. All I have to do now is check to see if it's churning. Check action step. Let's see, text A. Stay temp. Check action step. Come on. Get action step. Sorry. Get action step. Temp. 1. BQ is cranking. It is not cranking. And not where the stuff goes. There we go. It was dependent on if I had the B button pressed. So now I should be able to put this down, start it. That's what I expect to see. Now I'm harvesting. All right, we got to make that. So now I'm auto harvesting. Yay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that down again. And I'm just going to set that to, let's do this. Something like this. And we could change the speed of this if we want. And maybe what I could do is just so I can see that something's happening. Create object at tile X, tile Y, 8, 0, current game table. So now I got a little effect that plays so that, you know, I know what it's actually mining. So if in state 2, then don't worry about the B button. Right, and that's kind of what's happening here. So what's happening here is that if forget about like what this says for states, but yeah, stuff for state 1. I just had to skip this part. I needed to make it so that it wasn't reading this part. If you were just asserting in just a second behind me, but yeah. So this is now cranking, and now all I have to do is I have to take this and apply it to the entire area, and then I have to do the same thing for gems. So if I, let's see, if it's A, do nothing. Now here, I will jump and this. And this is a long way. This is totally unoptimized. I would not recommend doing this. But what I could do now is I could do this. Do nothing. B. There's a much better way to do this with tables. We're gonna make it harvest just the 9 tiles around the harvester. That's what I'm working on right now. So I'm gonna compare it to OB, and now instead of wood mat, I'll do gem mat, gem material, and update hot element 3. But it'll do the same kind of thing. So now, oops, what do you call it? Gems. So gems mat. So now if I have the harvester by a gem, we should start to see the gems go up. But we don't, of course, because that would make my life too easy. Because I didn't set that to be over here. Yes, I did. So what's happening? If it's A, do nothing. Let's see. If it is, let's see. If it's B, do nothing. This should be added gems, but add value 3, gems mat. Oh, come on. Okay, let me just take this and see if I'm just jumping bad. Basically, I'm rushing right now to try and get something working. And okay, so that's working. Maybe I did I not have it active? Is that what happened? Because that would be stupid, because we just talked about how I had to have it active, right? Maybe I just didn't have it active. Yep, I'm a moron. I just didn't have it active. So you can see now the gems are going up. Okay. So what I could now do is this is going to maybe cause a problem because I'm going to be creating multiple objects at the same time. I could create up to 9 of them, and that could be all kinds of chaos. So I might remove that for this next step. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this whole thing right here. Let's see. Up until not cranking. So all the way this. And I'm going to say JSR check. I don't know. Check harvester tile. Right. And that's just a subroutine. Come on. Check harvester tile. RTS. So I just took that whole routine that I just did. Up a little bit, and I'm making it its own subroutine. And the reason I'm doing that is because this checks this. Again, I would much rather do this with loops, but this is going to check this position. Now I can check this position. Which is the X value where this is at. And what I might want to do is when I update the HUD element, I might want to wait for a frame. This might do wacky things if I'm trying to update more than one of these HUD updates in of the same inside of one. So maybe what I'll do is instead of updating the HUD elements here, I'll wait until the very end of all of these to update the HUD elements. So I'll still add the values, but only update the HUD elements once and update them both no matter what. So let's do this. This might get a little bit weird. Let's see. Okay, so now I should have a row. And then update HUD elements. I don't really like what I'm about to do. Let's try this. I don't know if this is a good way to do this. Let's try. So now I should have a whole row. Oops. 142 and 160. 142. Let's do this. Okay. So now I should have 3 tiles across a row. So if I build a harvester and it is here. Nope. Oops. Got to be a little higher than that. If I build a harvester here, then it should get the gem. Yeah, I was worried that it wouldn't update both of these. What I can do, and this is not gonna be what I want, but I could come up here and I could say JSR do wait frame. I think I probably have do wait frame, or it could just be wait frame. Okay. And now with gems. The problem with this method is that, yeah, it's going to continue to wait frames every frame, not just when there's a change. So that's definitely not a good thing to do, to wait frames every frame like that. Let me just make sure that wasn't working. Let's see. Am I crazy? Yeah, see, it is triggering, but it's not updating. So what I can do is if there was a change, maybe I'll do this. Load 0, stay empty. Use to flag if I should update. Did I use temp C anywhere? I did not. Flag to update element 2. Flag to update 3. Look at this. Load temp C. EQ. Ah, oh, come on. Sorry. EQ. Skip. Update. So what I'm doing is I'm just making sure that it only updates one element at a time. I don't know. And really, I should probably not use temp 2 or temp 3 and temp C and temp D for this. I should make some custom variables, but I hate oops. Temp C, DQ, update. Okay. Will this work? This will work until I'm updating both of them at the same time. Oh, 121. So now what I'll do is if I hit the wood, I will load temp C. This is, I will load D. Okay. And is that above it? Did I miss it? Keep putting it high enough where I'm not sure if, there we go. There we go. Wood. Okay, so wood works. If I put it on gems. Awesome. So now I have a row. So I should be able to go anywhere under the row. Like if I set up a harvester, solid right there. If I set up a harvester here, it's right above it, it'll read it. And so what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to read all of them one at a time and know how much to add. So technically, if I have 2 crystals here, if I have 3, I change these to OB. And now I come in here, I put it here. What I should see is it's pulling from all 3 of them as it's going through. It's not exactly how I thought that was going to work, but you can see it's grabbing them from all the adjacent tiles because that's where you're seeing that explosion show up. That's the actual tile X and tile Y. That's the read of where that's happening. So you can actually see where it's harvesting. Now, what happens, and this is a good question, and I don't know the answer, if I put one of these bushes here, the same thing, but I make this node 0. Will my temp C and temp C solution screw everything up? Let's see. Yeah, it does. So it only lets me do one of those 2 at a time. So now I've got some things that I would have to do as a game developer is I could say, you know what? I totally screwed that up. I'm only going to, I could fix it, or I could just make it so there's only groupings of one type of resource or the other, or I could dig in and I could get a little bit more detailed in why this is happening. And really it has to do with where it's skipping, like what's causing it to skip an update. And it should be checking all of them and then adding to them and then checking the next one and then checking the next one. So it should still add value. It should add the value and then do the next one and add the value and then do the next one and add the value and then update. So really what I was expecting to have happen is it should add 3 to if they're all the same, because it's doing endless. This goes to here. This goes to RTS. Then it comes to here, does the next one. It doesn't update the HUD element until it gets done with all 3 of them. Tile that position. Well, I think unfortunately that's where we're gonna have to stop today. I actually thought this was gonna take 3 days to get this far, and it took like 2.5. So we're getting kind of late in the day. It is 1:54. This has been a long stream, and I hate to end on sort of a I didn't quite get there note, but at the same time, we still have technically like an hour stream before this should be working the way that we thought it should. So what is kind of nice is again, we've got our harvester working the way that we thought. I have to place it and I have to activate it, and it is self-harvesting my resources. If I get a resource myself, it also adds to it. So let's take a look. If I could harvest them myself like that, or I could have my harvester harvest them. And what I need to do for the next step is I have to actually make sure that it is getting all around my harvester. That's number one. I also have to make sure that when I edit when I set my harvester, I have to be in front of it, actually colliding with it in order to activate it. And I have to make sure I've already got some wood. It's going to charge me wood in order to build that harvester. So right now I can just hit be anywhere and it makes a harvester. What I need to be able to basically do is I need to be able to pick my class. Oops. I need to be able to pick my class. So I go as a Viking, and now I'm here in the world, and I go and I collect some wood, and it costs me 3 wood to set down my harvester. And I let that go, and it starts auto harvesting. And Joe, this is where you were talking about the collision tables, and you're right. I think this module does use collision table 1 and collision table 2. That's how we allow for scrolling collisions. So I've just got to go through, and I've got to evaluate if I'm on the left, a even number table, it looks at collision table. If I'm on an odd number table, it looks at collision table 2. But that's a super easy change. So what I'm going to do next week is I'm going to tweak this, finish that up, and get this harvester completely harvesting my goods and be able to sort of use that as sort of in-game currency. Then it'll sort of resemble a little bit more like what Project Frontier has going on. And if I get that done, I will make it so that I can switch back and forth between my pickaxe, where I can mine for resources, or my weapon that doesn't mine for resources, but that I could use as a stronger way to attack enemies, and set up some kind of shop where I can upgrade that weapon and make a stronger weapon against those enemies. So that's sort of my goal of where I'm trying to go with this. So that was actually, in some ways, a better day than I thought it was going to be. And in some days, so close. Like it'll only work on this over here, but it does work. You do collect gems. So awesome. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that. That was kind of fun, a little anticlimactic, but it's great to sort of see that we've got a harvester working, collecting gems, and you can kind of start to see how I'm creating an area check for this object to be checking for things. And it's something similar that you could do for a lot of purposes. So if this was an AI and a monster that was checking to see, hey, is your player within range, or is your AI within the range of a wall, and wanted to try and do some like wayfinding things and stuff like that. Like you could use the same skill in a lot of different ways, not just for like a resource harvester, but resource harvester is what we're emulating from Project Frontier. Speaking of which, guys, if you are interested, we got a couple people on the call. Please check this out real quick. I want to share a link with you guys. This link right here, this link I'm about to share with you, this link right here that I'm about to put in the chat. Everyone who's looking at the chat right here. Okay. This link, I'm sharing with my creator friends. That's you guys. You guys are NESmaker users or people who are interested in NESmaker. Click on that link, sign up so you can find out about the creation tools of Creator Lab, because obviously I'm really excited to show you guys that too. And I would love for this to go the other way. Here's me demaking, Project Frontier into a NES game with NESmaker. What if we also took some of these NES games and made them into experiences in Project Frontier? I think that'd be a lot of fun. I really appreciate that you guys have supported me with this stream. We want Project Frontier to continue to support me being able to do these cool streams. And the best way to do that is to demonstrate that we've got support from the NESmaker community. So please sign up. It's just signing up an email. There's no other obligation beyond that. And check it out, and you'll be among the first people who get to play with Creator Lab from Project Frontier. So thank you guys for hanging with me today. I appreciate it. Sorry we didn't get quite as far as we could have, but we will fix it up. I'll tweak a couple things between now and the next session, and we'll get the harvester up and running, and I'll show you how I did it. All right, guys. Have a wonderful evening and wonderful wedNESday, and we'll all talk very soon.